Hello everybody, Bonnie here. When we first came to Australia, we were amazed by how many Australians thought that life was better overseas and we were mad for living here. Australians, you just don't realise how good you've got it. So today we are sharing our key reasons why Australia is far better than many Aussies give credit for, and we are sure some of these will surprise you. So here is the first of our 10 key reasons.
These foul-winged midges swarm me.
In the warmer months, Australia comes alive with mosquitoes. Or mozzies. Yes, they are definitely annoying, but there are plenty of ways to stop them. And believe me, they aren't nearly as bad as midges, which I used to be plagued with back in Scotland. There are literally thousands of them as they congregate in swarms underneath the trees. And I remember being completely covered in bites that would swell up and irritate, and they'd be just so itchy. Midges get everywhere. Inside your clothes. There's just no escaping them unless you wear an outfit like this under your clothes, as they can even get into this. They're so tiny. So take it from me, as I get an allergic reaction to both, and I'd much rather have a mosquito to a midgie any day.
Dancing in clusters, name mercy.
Now let's dive into something many Australians think is a waste of space.
Right place. Oh, the joy it brings, this pool of mine.
One of my dreams as a little girl growing up in Scotland was to have a swimming pool, and I'm so thankful and grateful that that dream has now come true. But we are so surprised by how many of our Aussie friends dismiss the idea of having a home swimming pool. They say it's expensive to install, maintain and to run, and it would never get used once the novelty wore off. But we run ours in summer from our solar panel. We have to buy salt and chemicals every few months, which isn't expensive, and we think it's well worth it. The pool is weather dependent, and when we're not in it, we just enjoy looking at it, especially at night when it's lit up. I actually find it really therapeutic cleaning the pool with my fishing net. And for a full clean, we send it in the robot, so it's so easy. In the UK, swimming pools are few and far between. But here, many seaside suburbs have ocean pools, and they protect swimmers from currents, ocean waves, and biting sea creatures. Outdoor public swimming pools of various depths and sizes are everywhere in Australia. There's even a swimming pool in Sydney Harbour. So Aussies, you don't know how good you have it.
Oh, the joy it brings, this pool of mine.
Next, let's examine a critical aspect of life in Australia.
Your health's your only luxury.
Before we came to Australia, Lewis had an operation to correct a deviated septum. We were grateful for the treatment on the long-suffering NHS in the UK, but in the hospital it was very clear they were under-resourced. The whole experience was chaotic, disorganised and unpleasant. When they removed Lewis's dressing, for some reason the operation wasn't a success. He didn't even consider a second operation in the UK, as Lewis had been breathing through one nostril for years anyway. So when we came to Australia, his doctor recommended that he get it done again. The treatment that Lewis received from the initial consultation to his operation was so impressive. It really was night and day compared to his experience in the UK. Lewis's operation was a complete success, and it was done in one day. When my dad and brother visited Australia over 5 years ago, my dad had to see my doctor as he was having men's problems. Thanks to the reciprocal agreements between both countries, my dad received amazing treatment here, which he was so grateful for, and he said it was far quicker than he would get it done back in the UK. He now wishes every time he's sick he's back in Australia.
'Cause health is all we've got.
Now we're moving on to something that Australians often underrate, but the rest of the world can't get enough of.
Screw it up, twist it tight.
We are always surprised when we go out to restaurants with our Aussie friends that they end up choosing Italian or French wines and dismiss the Australian wine. This is something that we just don't understand, as we love Australian wines. And it has an incredible reputation worldwide, and for good reason. Australia is the 6th largest wine producer in the world, and its creative approach to winemaking has influenced even the most traditional countries. For example, techniques like barrel fermentation for Chardonnay has revolutionised the industry, even making an impact on France's Burgundy region. Australian wines consistently rank among the best in global competition, and Australian sparkling wines often rank higher than French champagne. For generations, opening a bottle of wine with a corkscrew was part of the ritual, almost as important as the wine itself. But in the 1970s, a group of Australian and New Zealand wineries started experimenting with screw cap to prevent cork taint and air leakage, which was ruining a significant percentage of their wines. Despite initial resistance, especially from traditional European markets, Australian wineries embraced the change, as Delvin screw tops provide better consistency and longevity. Today, they are used in all but high-end and sparkling wines worldwide. Australia also invented the wine cask, which was again initially dismissed by purists, but it has become hugely popular for its convenience and for keeping wine fresh long after it's been opened, thanks to Australia's willingness to challenge outdated traditions. Wine is now more accessible than ever. Cheers. In Scotland, I lived near Speyside, so it was fun doing all the whisky trails and visiting famous distilleries like Glenfiddich, Glenlivet, Glengrant, Glenfarclas and Cragganmore, just to name a few. Each has their own distinct flavour, and unlike wine, which is drunk during a meal, a wee dram is enjoyed at the end. Lewis and I aren't big whisky drinkers, but Scots are fiercely proud of their Scotch. So Australia, be proud of your wine. You've not only created world-class wines, but also transformed the industry with innovations like the cask and the Stelvin screw cap. Now, let's savour something that's become an essential part of Australian everyday life.
A cup of joy, oh, it's coffee time. Espresso shots, they wake my soul.
Before the flat white and espresso machines became popular in the UK, coffee was usually made with instant powder or a filter drip or something really fancy like the coffee plunger. No wonder tea remained popular, as the coffee was simply awful and nothing like what we drink today. Australia also played a huge role in popularising latte art, so even your local coffee shop will serve your flat white with a love heart or an artistic swirl. Thanks to companies like Australian brand Breville, known as Sage in the UK, their domestic espresso coffee machines means we can have cafe quality coffee at home. So when you're enjoying a flat white in the UK, you have Australia to thank for that.
Dreams in every sip.
Now let's fly onto something truly unique to Australia.
A symphony of colors they arrive.
One of the things we absolutely love, but some of our Australian friends aren't so keen on, and that is the amazing wildlife. For us, it's incredible to have such exotic birds, like cockatoos, kookaburras and lorikeets in our garden. Some Aussies find them really annoying, as they make so much noise and they can be so destructive. Coming from Scotland, we mostly had starlings, sparrows, blackbirds and seagulls. We'd have to venture to the faraway cliff tops to see our beautiful puffins. Australian birds can be noisy, and cockatoos love to prune everything they can get their beaks on, and they have a grinding squawk, which we think is just fantastic. We especially love the black cockatoos. A lot of kids get together in the trees and there is this beautiful tweety chorus which we just love to listen to. We also love possums. It's great to see them scurrying along the fence or roof at night, though many of our friends consider them as pests.
A symphony of colors.
Next, let's address an unusual complaint, one that is actually a dream for me.
Sunrise hitting the ocean blue.
A lot of Australians complain about the heat, but coming from freezing Scotland, I think it's far better to be too hot than to be too cold. Back in Scotland, I was constantly getting chest infections because of the cold, and every home had to have a central heating system, whether it was electricity or gas. In Australia, most homes have dual air conditioning, which heat up and cool down. They are essential for every indoor space, including your car and shopping malls. My health has noticeably improved since moving here, and I can't get enough of the heat, as I don't get my annual cold infections anymore.
Waves rolling slow.
Now let's explore something that might not be on everyone's radar, but is actually a huge advantage.
I see paradise, I crave luxury I'll never see.
When it comes to mortgages, Australia is miles ahead in innovation. Australia offers features like offset accounts, redraw facilities, and daily interest calculations, which help homeowners pay off their loans faster, saving them thousands of dollars. One of the best features is the offset account. This is a savings account linked to your mortgage, and the money in it reduces the amount of interest you pay. For example, if you have $10,000 in an offset account, your mortgage interest is calculated as if your loan is $10,000 lower. This means you save on interest while still having access to your money whenever you need it. Another major advantage is that most Australian mortgages calculate interest daily. This means any extra repayment you make immediately reduces your loan balance. In the UK, interest is typically calculated monthly, so extra payments take longer to make an impact. Over the course of a 25-year mortgage, these small differences can add up to tens of thousands in savings.
Paradise, I crave luxury I'll never see.
Now let's dig into something many Australians don't give themselves enough credit for.
Work hard, play hard, that's the way.
From our experience, the idea that Australians only live for the weekend is a bit of a myth, and we have found them to be very hardworking. The sayings like, "no worries, too easy," gives the perception that Australians just can't wait to get to the beach. But this is so far from the truth. Statistics show that Australians work longer hours than people in the UK, Canada, Germany, and about the same as the US. From our own experience, we've seen that people here work incredibly hard, putting in longer hours and even using up their weekends. At the same time, Australians know how to celebrate. We've seen companies throw incredible parties to reward their teams for their hard work. We just love how Australians work and play hard.
Work hard, play hard, that's the way.
And while we are on the subject of work,
Land down under shines so bright. Talents gathered from morning.
lastly, many Australians encourage their adult children to go overseas for better jobs, believing Australia doesn't have the same work opportunities. People from all over the world have chosen to come here, and that diversity, combined with local Australians, have created an incredible depth of talent. For a country with a relatively small population, Australia overachieves in industries like software, AI technology, healthcare, and has hundreds of innovative companies. And with remote working, you can now work for companies anywhere in the world while still living in Australia. So there you have it, our reasons why Australians shouldn't be so hard on themselves and their country. From world-leading innovations to a vibrant culture and stunning natural beauty, Australians have so much to be proud of. It's time to stop looking overseas and start appreciating everything that makes this country amazing. We so love making these videos for you, and we hope you enjoy watching them too. Thank you for watching Lewis and Bonnie's Australia.